What's up to all the beautiful people out there? Hope you're staying safe. I wanted to build this video prior to the weekend, so maybe you guys can play around with it. The best way to play with, new products or learn things is to kind of lab it out and actually implement it in your home. Okay. So what better way than to incorporate your Ubiquiti network and your logs and ingest it into Azure Sentinel? Okay, now here's what it's gonna look like. So what we have here is gonna be sort of the flow. What's gonna happen, all right? Now, in most environments, you're gonna have something like this, where you'll have a home network and you'll have Azure where Sentinel will sit on, okay? So in your home network, for this scenario, we're gonna, you probably have a Ubiquiti cluster of devices, an AP, video cameras, whatever it is. It's all being controlled or managed by a unified controller. And this unified controller could be a VM, could be something you buy, a device you buy, but it's managing all the devices, okay? And within Azure, there's gonna be two main components. Remember, you are not sending your logs to Azure Sentinel, you're sending your logs to Log Analytics, where Sentinel will pull the data from, okay? So Sentinel has a dependency on Log Analytics, okay? Now, what is the first thing that you're gonna do? Well, you're gonna go click on the URL on the bottom description, because the Ubiquiti ARM deployment template is in private preview, so it's not available yet. And if you hear preview and you don't want to touch it, then you don't have to watch this video, because we're going to be using this module. And traditionally, to get logs from Ubiquiti to Sentinel is rather easy. Just send the logs to port syslog 514 and start parsing at a collector. And that's great, but this particular template, this ARM template, let me show you what it does. When you deploy the ARM template, it's going to deploy multiple resources within the Azure Sentinel workspace. It's going to deploy a data connector, a special connector that's going to ingest those Ubiquiti logs and actually stick it into a Ubiquiti custom table. Okay. It's going to have a parser, and the parser's job is to parse that Ubiquiti log and make it easily readable, or or place it, the properties in the right columns. The workbook, there's already a pre-made workbook, and I suggest customizing it because it's just a sample workbook to get you started, but I suggest customizing it and tailor it to your home. Analytic rules. So analytic rules are, again, we'll call them alerts, where they're the triggers. You're going to build queries, and those queries are, if there's a result, it triggers a analytic rule that might trigger automation or might trigger an alert, right? So analytic rules are already kind of pre-made there that you can kind of leverage, and some hunting queries. So they've already kind of populated some hunting queries for you as well. So all this is kind of already pre-made, so you don't actually have to go and parse the syslog and find the delimiter and put the elements in the right columns. It's already done for you. Just deploy the ARM template, and that is already going to be configured and provisioned within the Azure Sentinel workspace, okay? So it's going to populate those resources and everything into that workspace, okay? Now, what are you going to do? Well, first, you're going to have to configure on the unified controller to send syslog traffic, not to 514, but the special port Ubiquiti is listening on, okay? Not Ubiquiti, but the syslog collector, right? That syslog collector that you're configuring, you need to install the OMS agent. That is going to be the log analytics agent that is going to send securely through your firewall, through with a private cert, securely send that log over to Log Analytics and store that data, okay? That data is going to be stored under a custom log table called Ubiquiti_CL, indicating custom log, okay? So it's going to be a special table. Now, you're going to then query Azure Sentinel, and you're going to query that special parser function, that special table, called UbiquitiAuditEvents that's already been parsed. That's what we call a parser. It's parsing that raw log and making it into a format that you can work with. Okay, so that's the main parser function that we'll be using. And that's the main parser function that's going to be used by the analytic rules, the queries, and the workbooks. I'm going to help you kind of show you how to configure just from scratch Azure Sentinel and a syslog collector. So if you already have Sentinel and a syslog collector already in your home and on a personal subscription, then you can skip forward and go into more into the configuration. But all of us are in different points in deployment, so we are gonna configure it from scratch. Okay, now here's a question I get asked when I'm monitoring my Sentinel logs. How much is it? How much is, I send a lot of logs to Sentinel. I send my pfSense firewall, I send my Ubiquiti logs, I'll send my Linux logs, I'll send my Windows logs, but for the most part, it's the really chatty stuff is my pfSense firewall, because I'm sending everything, and I'm also sending the Ubiquiti logs. Okay, so I'm going to show you how much it is. So we're going to actually just take a look and see how much it costs. So let me pull up my subscription here, and here I already kind of went down into it. So right here, that's Sky Server, $6.82. So that has the resources already in there. That's connected to this workspace. So it's not that much. Okay, that's monthly. I believe that's monthly. Let me see. Could be. I mean, I'm going from June 1st to June 30th. So yeah, pretty sure it's monthly. Okay, so but around $10. So if you can afford $10 to lab, you're gonna get, enterprise grade log ingestion and a place to play around with and secure your own home. All right. And later on, I'll show you how to do that. We'll be doing a video around pfSense as well. So I'll show you how I parse my pfSense logs. And we'll even do a video where I actually take the alerts and then add those blacklisted IPs to the pfSense firewall. That way we block, if there's a brute force attack or, fail to ban trigger, then we want to add those IPs and just add it to the block list. So back to this, it's not that much. Let's configure a brand new workspace though, because I want to start off from scratch. So we're going to create one from scratch, a Azure Sentinel workspace. So we're going to go through the flow. If you've never had a workspace, we need to create a log analytics workspace. Remember, Sentinel has a dependency on log analytics. So first we need to make a resource group. I'm going to create a new one for this demo. So I'm going to call it, you call this resource group whatever you want for your home. Okay. Resource group home or whatever, but I'll just call this TeachJing Ubiquiti. I'll call it something like this. Resource group TeachJing Ubiquiti. Okay, so I'm going to make a new resource group. The instance name, I'm going to call this Ubiquiti. No, actually, I'll just call it log. Okay, again, call this whatever you want. This is going to be the log analytics workspace we're sending logs to. You don't want to say Ubiquiti because you might want to send syslog and other kind of stuff to it. So when the log analytics workspace is created, you enable or add Azure Sentinel to it. So it's not enabled yet. So we're going to click on refresh. So we're going to, it's log underscore analyst Ubiquiti or whatever whatever workspace you created. All right. So here it is. The log analytics Ubiquiti workspace. And again, yours might be different. Now we're going to add. So we're adding Azure Sentinel. We're enabling that workspace for Azure Sentinel. That's it. We now have Azure Sentinel configured and log analytics configured. Now for one thing I'm going to mention is when you go to your workspace settings here, be sure under usage and estimate cost, Yeah, so I had a free tier on mine, on my other subscription. I don't really see it here. But nonetheless, you want to make sure you have your data retention set, and you want to, you know, make sure to set that, because you're also billed on how long you want to store the data. So make sure you move this, you know, bar and to a number you're comfortable with, right? And you just have to kind of review your ingestion and your storage and just see where you're at. But you can also set some limits on this subscription and make sure you're not going over $10. So just keep your eye on this, okay? It won't be too bad. So you can kind of get an idea with the workspace analytics workbook, okay? All right. So enough of that. Let's go ahead and get our workspace information. So agent management, this is where you're going to get your workspace ID and primary key. So just copy this. I'm going to put it to my notepad. Okay. You're going to need your workspace ID and you're going to need a workspace key. Let's copy that. All right. So we got that configured and we have that in our resource group. Now let's go into the ARM template and deploy it. So again, in the description, there's a link that will take you to this page. It's called the Ubiquiti UniFi preview. So thanks to everyone that kind of configured this, because this was a lot of work to set up this ARM template to deploy all these resources. So thank you to everyone that configured this. Now let's go ahead and click Get It Now. Continue. This will take us to a deployment page. Okay, we're going to create it. We're going to specify the subscription. I'm going to pick my, right here, my resource group. So specify the resource group you created for this environment. Specify that workspace, right? Only 2 drop downs. That's it. And then we start deploying, guys. So where are we? We're at this part, okay? We're configuring a data connector, parsers, workbooks, analytic rules, hunting queries, all right? So now that we have that configured, okay, we want to go ahead and set up a syslog collector. And if you already have one set up, just skip on through. There's timestamps on the bottom to skip on through. But if you don't have a syslog collector, we're just going to make one from scratch. Right. So you're going to have to, in whatever means, get a Linux VM up and running. And once you have a Linux VM up and running, follow along. So press pause, get that Linux VM, Ubuntu CentOS, whatever it is, and get Linux working. Okay, get it set up and you can log into it, and you have the ability to modify the services. So probably root access or something. All right. So I'm using Windows Terminal. If you don't use it, I suggest you use it. It's I have these helpful SSH consoles that I use to get into boxes I use daily. So I'm going to change this to an Ansible user because that has access to one of my boxes. And I'm going to SSH to the box. Now, when you SSH to the box, you want to go into your rsyslog. So let's check if rsyslog is working. net/-tupln. And 514, there's nothing on 514, so it's not working. So let's go ahead and if you don't have netstat working, just go app install it. Okay. Now it'll tell you which package to install it. It's like NetTools or something. Now we're going to modify the syslog.conf file. So we're going to nano etc rsyslog.conf. And we need to uncomment these lines. The UDP 514, TCP 514. If you modify this port 514, then you have a custom syslog port you're listening to. But we'll just do this. And you actually don't need this to get the Ubiquiti logs working, because Ubiquiti actually is listening on another port. But I'm just going to show you how to turn this on so that you can send syslog. Service rsyslog start. Docker, let me see. I'm sorry, Docker, netstat. Okay, let's try serve rsyslog restart. There we go. So you're going to see TCP and UDP listening on port 514. Okay. So let's go put the package in. This workspace ID, we got to replace it. So let's replace it with our stuff. Replace workspace key. We put our key in there. Okay. So anything with before those carets or after those carets, you don't want to have any carets. You want to have a -W with the ID, space -S with the key. Copy this one line, paste it, install it, and we're going to install the package. All right, so everything looks like it's been installed. And let's do a netstat-tupln, and let's see. Okay, so we got some new ports popping in. 25324 and 25224. Okay. Now, so if you don't have these ports configured, then you're going to have to check some things out and troubleshoot it. But hopefully you have the ports there. They're lit up. And now we're going to load that Ubiquiti file. Okay. So how do we do that? So go into the Sentinel environment that you created. We're going to go, which one? Let's try data connectors. Ubiquiti. So again, we got the, we loaded the ARM template. We got the Ubiquiti deployment ingested or configured in the Sentinel workspace. It's going to light up a data connector here that you can click on, open the connector page, and then you're going to have to get some configuration steps. Okay. So it kind of tells you to install the agent so you can kind of follow this. Now, we need to configure the logs to be collected. Okay. So what do? We need to download the config file ubiquiti.conf. So let's go ahead and get that file. Okay. So I'm going to put it in my notepad. Okay. And I'm going to close this. It says, copy the Ubiquiti conf to the etc opt Microsoft OMS agent workspace ID. Okay. So let's do that. etc opt Microsoft OMS agent CDA65 conf, and look, you have other OMS agents already configured. Okay, and let me grep monitor syslog. Okay, so the OMS agent .d/syslog.conf. Okay, so an OMS agent.d, and if there's any kind of folder within the next thing it says .d, that means directory, if you don't know. And then we're going to go into that directory and we see a syslog.conf file. So yeah, so syslog.conf and monitor.conf. One is listening on 25.224 and 25.324, right? So there's a configuration file for different tables, right? That monitor.conf, let's just look at it. That is the heartbeats. See? So we need to do a ubiquiti.conf. Okay? And we're going to put that, you know, what you copied into here. You're going to leave the port the same. You're going to bind that same, leave that the same. But what you do want to change is you want to go here and replace the workspace ID with your stuff. So let's get that workspace ID, because that's the folder path, right? So we're going to have to replace it in 4 different areas that has workspace underscore ID. Here, 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 and here. So now that we did that, we're going to have to, I believe, restart the agent. So let's go ahead and, what's the command? Sudo op. Let's copy that. And another port should populate. So let's do netstat -tupln. And there's another port, UDP. Okay, that's the Ubiquiti. So now you're going to go Ubiquiti and configure it. Okay, however you access Ubiquiti, go access your Ubiquiti controller. So I'm going to go to mine. And you're going to want to go to settings. Where do you go? Let's do syslog. Just search for syslog. That's like the easy way. And then you go to here. And right here, you want to turn on syslog. If you want to turn on syslog in that console, turn that on as well. But the main thing is set up the IP right here and then set up that port. And you're not going to use 514, guys. You're going to use the port that you configured that is listening on that port. That's a special port that will insert that Ubiquiti logs into the that Ubiquiti custom log table. Okay, so not 514. We're going to use this special port. Okay, so apply changes. Also check firewall rules. You may want to check your firewall rules to see if you are blocking port. Ubuntu doesn't have this issue usually, but maybe CentOS or other builds might have firewall enabled. Now that port's configured, we should be getting logs in our syslog collector. So how do we verify that? Let's do TCP dump -i eth0, do ifconfig, and just find out which one's kind of the master interface. So TCP dump -i eth0 port 22022. Is that the right port? Let's see if we got anything. Here we go. So logs are coming in from different devices. Okay. If you don't have logs coming in through the TCP dump, then you're going to have to check your firewall rules or something. But you got to have that log coming in, go into that port. Now that it's coming in, it should be going into Sentinel. Let's check it out, guys. Let's go to logs. Nothing's populating. Sad. Oh, nothing is populating. Oh, wait, but we do have a Ubiquiti custom log. The tab complete. It's coming in. So that's a good thing. That custom log table has been created. So it's a matter of just hydrating it or ingesting those logs from the syslog collector. Okay, I'm on my other workspace because I wanted to just show you some things. So as you can see, the log came in and it's a lot of logs, guys. And it's not parsed. See that? It's not parsed. You're like, what we're going to have to do is we need to parse those logs. But you don't have to because it's already been pre-parsed. Or it's already been parsed by the function UbiquitiAuditEvent. So by you calling this special parser, it's already been parsed. You run this one. There you go. It's all into its designated column. Does that make sense, guys? So now you can kind of filter on a column or do whatever with KQL. But on top of that, Ubiquiti provided some hunting queries. So let's go to Query Explorer, go to your saved queries, and go to hunting queries, and you see it's been populated. So an example is a DNS request. You click that, and there we go. You can also save your own queries. So if you customize it, you can save your own queries. But that DNS request, here we go. We can do something like this, and we can take that, we can summarize count by name. And then we'll sort it. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So that's hunting queries. And you can also go into your workbooks. It's not in the template because again, it's preview. So go to my workbooks, type Ubiquiti, and then go to that workbook, view the saved workbook, and you're going to start getting data coming in, populating. Okay. And again, I would modify this workbook and just kind of tailor it to your own stuff. But yeah, it's definitely there. You can edit these workbooks. You can kind of see how he made that, how they made a particular table, right? You know, how did they actually make it? Look at the query. See that? You can see how they made that query for that chart. Okay. You can also, maybe it's already been populated. Let's find it. There it is. There, Ubiquiti. Yeah, they already provided some analytic rules. It's disabled at the moment, so you'll need to enable it. Okay. Like that. All right, guys. So how was it? Did it work as easy as I hoped? Again, comment below if you run into any issues. I'll try to help you. But hopefully you got it working. Again, the steps are you have your environment, you figure the Ubiquiti ARM template, and it's going to populate the resources in your Sentinel resource. Then you're going to need to configure that remote syslog. You're going to then configure the syslog and OMS agent on your Linux box. You're then going to have that data sent out, and you want to check to make sure that port is working as expected. You want to then check log analytics, see if they're going to store that data under that custom log table. Okay, and then you're going to query UbiquitiAuditEvent. Okay. Hopefully, it wasn't too difficult, and you got Azure Sentinel working your environment. It should be pretty cheap. I don't really know. My data is different from your data, so hopefully it's not a lot of logs that's being ingested by your Ubiquiti components, but it shouldn't be too much. And make sure to set those settings to make sure the billing, you're not storing the logs indefinitely. You want to set a range. So yeah, comment below, like, subscribe, please, and let me know if there's anything else you want me to cover. Okay, this is something a little bit different. It's focused around your home, but it's always good to have the products you're working with within your home, because it's definitely a good way to learn and lab with. Okay, thank you for watching, everyone. Stay safe. Have a good day.